This is Assassin's Creed Origins, the new entry in the long-running series from the same development team as Assassin's Creed Black Flag. And recently, at an event before the official start of E3, I got a chance to sit down with a work-in-progress build of the game for several hours. During this time, I got to see some of the story, experience the heavily changed combat system, take part in the new arena, and roam around the landscape of ancient Egypt. So let's talk about some of that. Let's cover 10 things that you need to know about Assassin's Creed Origins. Now, to start, I'd like to get something out of the way very quickly, and that is, if you're an Assassin's Creed fan, you're going to find a lot of stuff in Origins you're familiar with. If you enjoy jumping into piles of hay, parkour, stealth kills, historical locations, and a lively world, well then you're going to feel right at home in Assassin's Creed Origins. But Origins is not about what the series has always done, it's about what's new. So let's discuss one of Origins' most important and impactful changes, the combat. Origins combat has been completely revamped from previous entries into the series. No longer do enemies stand in a circle around you waiting turns to attack while you parry and execute them one at a time. No, now combat is very different. Instead, Origins melee encounters now consist of enemy lock-ons, a hitbox system, heavy and light attacks, charging heavy attacks to break guards, and quick dashes to close the gap, seize openings, and avoid harm. In addition to that, there's also the adrenaline gauge, which fills up upon successful hits and depletes when you're struck. And when this meter is full, an adrenaline special attack can be unleashed. Now, besides melee, there's also ranged weaponry, and of course, there's always the option to avoid combat with stealth, but Origins definitely feels like it puts a greater emphasis on melee battles than the patented wrist blades than ever before. So when new combat is introduced, it's important then to have enemies that react to this new style of play, which brings me to the next topic, enemy AI. Unlike previous Assassin's Creed entries, enemies will hound you. They'll stay close, attack relentlessly, and in groups. They also do other things that make them feel smarter as well, like running off to attempt to light a signal fire to call for reinforcements. Shielded enemies will hold back if they see you charging an attack to break their guard, or dash away when in close quarters, while ranged enemies will pelt you with arrows. And when in groups, enemies seem to rush in while they hold the advantage, and then, after slaying a few of their friends, take a more cautious approach to battle. Also changing things to enemies is the new addition of bosses in greater abundance. You can find these stronger enemies with specialized icons attached to their level at almost every outpost. These enemies are much tougher with greater skill in combat. Also, there's more traditional bosses as well. The boss I fought in the demo, called the Slaver, had a wide and varied moveset, sweeping strikes, combos, and grapple attacks that would close the gap quickly. Overall, the Slaver was very challenging, but that said, he was 5 levels over my character, and due to this it felt like his health pool was extremely deep. More importantly though, when you do finally take them down, bosses serve as a great opportunity to receive new gear, which brings me to the next topic, loot. In previous Assassin's Creed games, you were able to get different gear, but Origins has taken it to a whole new level. Loot in Origins is color-coded to indicate a tier rarity system, ranging from ordinary items all the way up to legendary tier. Also, the higher the rarity, the more special bonuses gear seem to have. And beyond color-coded rarity, the demo also showcased a variety of different weapon types with just as varied movesets. For example, the fast forward thrusting spear did much less damage than the slower swinging vertical slamming mace, while the swords and axes seem to find a medium between the two. Beside differing weapon types, there is also armor, shields, and the ability to upgrade secondary passive equipment like the size of your quiver, gloves to increase your melee and range damage, a breastplate to increase your health, and more. All of these aspects, from item upgrades to weapon variety and rarity, adds to a greater range of character customization than has ever been offered in an Assassin's Creed title before. Further complementing this idea of customization is Origins' use of the skill tree. Now, when you gain XP and level up, you can spend skill points to customize your playstyle, like adding additional combos to attacks, parrying abilities, a shield bash, and a slow motion bow attack while airborne, to name just a few of the combat customizations. There's also other things like the ability to call a mount with just a whistle, or more rare items from merchants, or a larger lung capacity to stay underwater longer, to many other things. Now, speaking of mounts and swimming, let's talk about Origins exploration. In the demo, I was limited to the area of Fayum. Essentially, this area was a large waterway surrounded by villas, farmland, roads, and wildlife. On the outskirts, a horse was best suited for the terrain as it was very spread out, not allowing for continuous parkour rooftop travel. And when not on the rooftops or roads, boats were able to be commandeered, acting as a shortcut across the large body of water or as a means to reach military boats. With the way exploring the map, finding locations, and traversing the landscape felt, it reminded me very much of Witcher 3. Now the last aspect to this land, sea, air trio is obviously taking to the skies. And this Assassin's Creed is the first title to introduce a flying pet companion, in this case named Senu. When let go with the tap of a button, Senu soars above, where you're then able to take control of the bird's flight. While in the air, Senu's able to scout the landscape, mark targets, and note important locations to explore for later. So really, this is a much more literal eagle vision compared to the entries that came before. Instead of the Animus marking enemies with what felt like an out-of-place high-tech solution in this historical world setting, controlling the eagle feels much more organic and natural to the Assassin's Creed universe and setting of ancient Egypt. Now, speaking of ancient Egypt, the last subject I want to brush over is the story. Unfortunately, the demo left much to be desired on this front, only offering a brief look into a small section of the narrative. What I can say though is that Origins introduces the new character, Bayek, and I can't really tell you much about him either. Like ancient Egypt itself, much of the story, the protagonist's motivations and character are still shrouded in mystery. All I can say for certain is that Assassin's Creed Origins will cover the story surrounding the foundation of the Assassin's Creed, while portraying ancient Egyptian history and culture, and that's about it. So to finish up, between the color code loot system and skill tree customization, the more advanced and intricate third-person combat system, and the vast and fruitful landmass of ancient Egypt, between all these things, Ubisoft have woven together an Assassin's Creed world unlike anything else in the series. Sure, there's some aspects we've seen before, like running on building rooftops and wristblade takedowns, but Origins is doing much more than just telling the story of the beginning of the Assassin's Creed. By reworking and adding many new features, Origins feels like a new beginning for the Assassin's Creed franchise as well, incorporating many new RPG elements to broaden the action-adventure series. Alright guys, that's about it for this video. Before you go though, leave some feedback. What'd you like or dislike about Assassin's Creed Origins? What features or additions look the most interesting to you? And finally, if you're interested to know more, you can click on the link in the description to learn more about Assassin's Creed Origins. Alright guys, I'll try to answer all the questions I can. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.